What's going on? Welcome to week 6 of the Tawkin Chop podcast. My name is Kevin.
What's up, folks? I'm Ty, calling in from Atlanta, coming off a Braves win on Monday night.
Is there
Yes, sir. This is Steven here, just chilling out in I guess I'm on the third baseline. I don't know. I'm reversed, I think. Just kicking it
first
back
base?
to Turner Field. See my Coca-Cola bottle up there. Yeah, that'd be left field. So I'm on the first baseline for sure. What's
Old
up?
school. I like it. But yeah, we are wrapping up a it's a 4-1 week, but somehow it still feels disappointing after the game on Sunday with AJ Minter giving up the walk-off home run to fucking Brandon Nimmo of all people. One of the most punchable faces in all of baseball. He's a nice guy, he's a good guy and everything, but like something about him and Jeff McNeil every time we play a series against the Mets, there's at least a fuck Jeff McNeil or fuck Brandon Nimmo at least 3 times that happens in that series. But anyway, we're actually filming this on Monday night after the first game against the Cubs, which we took a W 2-0, I believe was the final score. But anyway, let's do like a quick little recap of the week. We had a quick little 2-game series versus Boston back in Atlanta. This is a really weird schedule, by the way. We just had like the 7-game road trip with Seattle and Dodgers, came home for 2 games, then went back on the road to New York, which is super weird. Had 2 off days in the middle of that too. Really weird. But anyway, game 1 versus Boston. Kelnick hit his first home run. We won 4-2. I kind of expected my prediction going in this week was 5-0 or 5-0, and you guys all predicted 4-1, which you guys ended up being right. I was so close to being right, but I kind of I kind of expected to win both games against Boston. Like they're a pretty good team, and they've been a lot better this year than they have in the past couple of years. But um, obviously we know that this Braves team is a juggernaut, and I expected them to win both, and they did. So the first game we won 4-2. Kelnick hit his first bomb as a Brave. He did it at home. That was super cool. It was kind of a wall scraper, but still a home run. Looks the same on the in the box score, but Reynaldo Lopez looked great through 5 innings, gave up no runs, and then got into a little bit of trouble in the 6th. He walked 3, and the first run came in. Aaron Bummer came in, got out of a jam with the bases loaded. He gave up 1 run, but I mean, that's kind of a win in my book if they can get out of that. Some positive notes on that. Ozzy, Riley, and Ozuna. Actually, that's not the point that I wanted to make. That's later. But Ozzy, Riley, and Ozuna go walk single, single to score a run. Arcia drives in another with a weird fielding play by Boston. You remember that when they like threw it to second, and then Grissom was there, and whoever their second baseman was, they like didn't know
Yeah,
who was supposed to catch it. But
yep.
anyway, that brought in another run. And then Iggy closed the door with a clean inning, which are becoming more few and far between, is something that we'll talk about here in a little bit. Iggy has been a little bit iffy. And then game 2 on, I guess, Wednesday night, we won 5-0. Sale just absolutely dominated his former team, the Red Sox. He went 6 innings, 6 hits, 0 runs, 1 walk, and 10 Ks. He looked psyched to do it. One of our guys, Will, he's actually going to be joining us. He was at the game tonight against the Cubs, but he did a funny little bit at the stadium talking to fans. He had Chris Sale's face pasted on an apple, and he said, "How about them apples?" I don't know. It sounds stupid when you explain it, but if you watch the video, it's pretty funny. That'll be going live here in the next day or two. But Ozuna hit a 3-run homer in the first after a close play at first that I think it was Ronald and Ozzy got out. I forgot exactly how, but Riley hit like an infield single. That's really close play at first. He was originally called out. They challenged it. He ended up being safe by like a millimeter. I honestly thought that they were gonna keep him out, and then who knows what, that inning would have never happened. But anyway, Riley got on base, and I think Olson took a walk, and then Ozuna hit the bomb, and then Arcia hit a solo homer right after that. So we're up 4-0 in the first, which is just great to see from this team because last year we were just dominating the first inning. Um, and it's good to see that again. And then Ozuna hit another homer to make it 5-0. And we just kind of wrote it out from there. The bullpen put up zeros, and it was just a very classic Braves win that you love to see. Ty?
Yeah, yeah. So great. Yeah, I don't know if you call it sweep or not, but like a little 2-game dust up of the Red Sox. Definitely love to see that before we but a quick trip at home before I headed back out on the road for a 3-game stint with the Mets at not Shea Stadium, City Field, whatever the hell they call that place now. Anyhow, saw the Bats wake up right away on Friday night with Ronald, Ozzy, Riley, and Olsen really firing things off. I don't know if it was the first inning, it was early in the game, third
I think it
inning
was the
probably.
third.
Yeah, go homer, homer, walk homer. And you say, here we go again. The Bats are awake. Yeah, and they never really looked back from there. Charlie shoved 7 innings pitched, 3 hits, 1 earned run, 7 Ks. Only gave up a solo homer to Lindor. And honestly, it was just Braves won 4-2, but honestly, it was dominated from start to finish. And they didn't let up looking ahead into Saturday. On Saturday, Max Fried yet again went 7 innings, gave up 0 hits. So don't quote me on the stats here, but I want to say he's like the only pitcher in the last however many years, decades, to have back-to-back games with 6+ innings and 0 hits allowed. The guy is absolutely dominating. Maybe it wasn't consecutive starts that that he did it, but anyhow, the guy's been absolutely dominant over the last several starts. He's really stepped up, and I want to say that I don't know if it's a conscious decision, but since Strider has gone down, he is clearly taking the lead as the lead dog in the rotation. But anyhow, 4-1 win. It's a scattering of different runs going on. Offense looked decent, but again, not explosive. And despite the big inning in the third and the prior night, didn't add on a lot of runs. So anyhow, another pretty dominant win though, with the pitching just absolutely taking care of business with the Mets. And then we enter the Sunday game. So it's the night game, which the Braves, I feel like, have historically not done so hot in. Seems like there's always a lot of heartbreak there. And last night was no good. Elder, again, was serviceable. If you don't like Elder, I don't know what to tell you. Like, the guy's a 5th starter. He's been just fine, aside from aside from getting torched by the Dodgers. But guess what? Dodgers do that to a lot of people. Braves took a 3-1 or 3-2 lead into the 9th inning. Brought Minter in to close after having Iggy pitch the day before, and he blew it. It was almost like a repeat of the Seattle game. Was the last week, and had a bunt single to open the inning, and then Neil, as Kevin said, hit the home run to win it. So yeah, it's a disappointing ending to what was otherwise a dominant week. I feel like throughout the all 5 games, the Braves really not only held the lead but controlled the games. Pitching throughout was dominant. The Bats had their moments, still not where we need to be or where we expect to be, but they'll come back. They'll be fine. So anyhow, overall 4-1 week. Definitely some disappointing moments, and I think I failed to mention that we took the no-hitter, Max Fried's no-hitter, into 2 inning with into the 9th inning with 2 outs even, and before giving up a home run to JD Martinez. Iggy gave that up. So oddly enough, you go 4-1, it feels like a little bit of a disappointing week, but I think it just goes to show how what the expectations are like for this team and what this team is capable of doing. It feels like they're I don't know how you guys feel, but it feels like they're not really firing on all cylinders, and they are still just taking care of business. So I guess I'll open it to you guys. What are y'all's takeaways on the week?
What an embarrassment of riches.
Yeah, it comes from everywhere. I think what really sticks out to me is just how consistent Marcell Ozuna's been, the big bear, coming up with not only the bombs, but really timely hits, like finding space. I think Ozzy's kind of been consistent too, ever since he sort of came back from that short stint on the IL with the toe. I don't really have his numbers in front of me. And then I heard on the radio, someone made a really great point about 5th starter Elder, is that it seems like he's at his best when he doesn't walk anybody. I mean, obviously that's kind of a given, but if he can maintain, like, not just putting people on, that's when we typically get that 5+ innings out of him. As soon as he starts walking 1 or 2, you just know it's going to be a bad night. So always great to see him, not walk anybody.
Yeah, and that was one highlight
Great.
in that start against the Mets too, is he had 0 walks.
Yeah.
Because that's kind of his game. Is you got to pound the zone, you got to make him make contact. He's not a strikeout pitcher. His ground ball rate is really good. I don't have the exact number in front of me, but I know it's really good. That's one of the only good lines on his StatCast thing. Um, but
Yeah,
yeah, I
when
mean,
he's on, it seems like he throws, very few pitches because he's getting, the ball's going into play, but he's getting ground balls.
For sure. I mean, he's gonna have traffic, right? Like he is never gonna, we're talking about Max Fried having these like multiple games with 6+ innings with no hit ball. That's never gonna be Bryce Elder. Ever. He's gonna have traffic. I mean, I think the keys with him are avoiding the walks, like don't add to that traffic, and B, keeping the ball in the park. And when he's able to do those two things, the guy is incredibly effective. His issue has been consistency. So
Max Fried was going to be my other takeaway before I just blanked. But yeah, I'm pretty sure going back to his third from the last start, and I may be missing one, but wasn't 3 games ago the complete game? And then the next time out, I believe he went 6 of no hit ball and then 7 of no hit ball. Or maybe it wasn't no hit, but shutout ball. So I'm pretty sure he's at 22 straight innings of shutout baseball with probably, less than 3 or 4 hits total. Pretty insane.
yeah, the last start was against the Mariners. That was when it was a double no hitter until like the seventh or something like that. It was
yeah,
crazy.
Yeah, that's right. And just threw another 7 innings of no hit ball. Just unbelievable.
Yeah, I ran some numbers the other day. I don't have them in front of me, but if you take out those first two bad starts that Max had, he has like a 1.8 ERA or something stupid. Like
yeah,
been
it's
absolutely
silly.
dominant after those first two kind of oopsies. And like I know we harped on this in the first week, but that first game against the Phillies, man, that one ball or one strike that was called a ball that was right down the middle to Castellanos, he would have got out of that inning with I think 1 run.
Yeah,
And
that wrecked
then
the entire day.
yeah, I mean, it wrecked his. I mean, he had like a 41 ERA after that. I mean, obviously, he pitched like zero point 0.1 innings. He only got one out. So, obviously, super small sample size. So those numbers are going to be super inflated. But um,
That's
just
right.
just wondering like what that start could have been if he got that call and then was able to go 5, 6, 7 innings. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Because he should have. And that's a topic we can talk about too. Is having these the challenge pitch balls and strikes thing like that they're testing in AAA.
yeah, for sure.
Did you share something in the chat here?
I
Oh,
did.
Ty
So
shares.
I had run just some numbers on Max Fried's last 4 starts, and I don't remember. I think it's Steve what you mentioned the Miami game where he had it was Maddox, right? Like 9 innings pitched, shutout, less than 100 pitches. And is there a time constraint for that? Like, does it have to be less than 2 hours?
Less
I
than an
think
I can't
it's
hour, or no, not less than an hour. Less than a 100 pitches.
I think it's
I
Yeah.
don't
just a
know if
pitch
there's a
count.
time
Yeah.
constraint. Yeah,
Okay. Yeah, I think you're right. But anyhow, it was, Miami, uh, Seattle. I think he then pitched in LA. So it wasn't consecutive starts. It's not like he's got
okay.
14 inning hitless streak going. But yeah, it was Miami, Seattle, LA, and then again in New York. And he's just been utterly dominant over those 4 starts. 29 innings pitched, that's over 7 a start, only 7 hits allowed, 4 earned runs, eight walks, 25 strikeouts, good for a 1.25 ERA, a zero point 0.5 WHIP, and over 3x Ks to walk. So the guy's just been I he keeps this up, he's gonna be a Cy Young candidate. It's that simple. So he's been incredible, particularly over the last week.
Something notable out of that too is you only listed 4 earned runs, and all four of those came against the Dodgers. So that means 3 starts of shutout baseball.
Yeah, good point. Yeah,
Yeah, and I
Yeah,
think he was
and
facing in those first two against the Mariners and the Marlins. I'm pretty sure he faced like 4 more batters than the number of outs that he or than he
yeah,
needed to
the
face
number
to get
one.
all of the outs. Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah, he's been
yeah.
exceptional. And the pitching
Max
staff
Fried's
in
good.
general has been nuts. Yeah, like we talk about how like the lineup is starting to show signs of life, though tonight, like honestly, they could be, you scrape out 2 runs against that guy. I don't know if we actually got to him or the bullpen, but they
No,
faced a
yeah, it was
lot of
in the
good
bullpen.
pitching. Yeah, they faced a lot of good pitching, but the lineup is not performing the way not only the way they should, but the way they will. Like we'll look back at the end of the year and their numbers are going to be there. It might not be what they did last year, but this lineup will heat up. It's just that simple. And it's the pitching staff has just been it's incredible. And without Strider too, I mean, who would have thought?
Yeah, I mean, Reynaldo pitched another 5 shutout innings tonight. Chris Sale, I feel like gets better every time he goes out there. He's
So fun to
he's
watch.
insane. Like he started out a little shaky the first like 2-3 starts, but ever since then, man, he's been nails. His ERA is under 3 now.
Yeah.
I
I
think
feel
he's
like
got
he
like a
does it with attitude too, where he's like, I'm going to throw you the slider. You know, I'm going to throw you the slider. And there's not a damn thing you can do about it. Right. Like, um, it, it's just, it's nuts. He just like
especially
goes out
against
there.
lefties.
Dog. Yeah.
I remember
Like,
that
I'm going to
series
throw you.
against Texas made Corey
Huh.
Seager look like a little leaguer.
Oh my God. He had him swinging at balls that were like in the dirt all the way in like the right hand batter's box.
Yeah, it's disgusting.
Like,
Um,
yeah.
Charlie Morton has found the fountain of youth. Um, like
Yeah.
we talked about in the recap, what was his line? He went against the Mets. Granted, it's the Mets, but I think the Mets are better than people give them credit for. But to go against any major league team at 40 years old and go 7 innings, 3 hits, 1 run, 7 Ks, like at 40 years old, that's
Yeah.
insane. And like
Yeah.
I just hope that he is able to stay healthy. And I think they have some creative strategies in mind to kind of limit his innings and Sale's innings and even Reynaldo Lopez's innings. Like that is kind of tough though. That is an interesting topic. That's 3 guys that we kind of have to like keep an eye on to make sure we keep them healthy. Um, so they're
For
available
sure.
for playoffs.
And I think we've talked, I don't know if we talked about it on the show, but I know we chatted about it. No, I've kind of suspected they're going to go with like this 5.5 man rotation, right? Where you're kind of
Yeah.
constantly shuffling out the 5th guy, and you always do it in a way to where you get like an extra start out of the 5th starter, right? So where every 3rd start or so, you bring up another guy out of AAA and you back them up right next to each other. Um,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Something like
That's
that.
kind of
Yeah. Because even in tonight's game, they pulled out Reynaldo Lopez after 5 innings. I think he only threw like 71 pitches. So hopefully he's not injured. Hopefully it's just a precautionary thing just to limit his workload. Um, but yeah, they've definitely got something going on down there in the Braves cheating lab.
Yeah,
the cheating lab, the short
I
guy.
think Reynaldo is still just kind of getting stretched out a little bit because don't forget, he wasn't starting before we signed him, at least not in a while.
He
And
hadn't started since like 2019.
yeah, and he was touching like 97, maybe 96, but 96, 97 tonight with the heater. I really like how he just kind of settles in. I think there's something to that, like with Morton and Sale being so healthy so far. Um, it's really like the super high velo guys who we've seen going down and having elbows and not benefiting from the less sticky stuff. And I think those guys, again, and then Max Fried with his elite curveball, just falling off the mound every time. It's like so weird to watch to me. And then he just touches that hot corner, that high corner with it. I feel like our guys are pretty well suited to avoid, that elbow issue.
I sure
I
hope
think so
Just
so.
too.
talking
Yeah.
now.
I mean, you don't. Charlie Morton's been doing it for years. Like, there's no ball or anything that's gonna. I mean, he was hurt going into the playoffs last year, but it was a freak accident, wasn't it? Like, he like jam his finger trying to feel the ball, like a ground ball or something.
I feel
Um,
like he like broke a bone and
like a
I'm
weird
trying to
knuckle
remember.
thing, right? It had nothing. He didn't hurt himself throwing a ball, if as I recall.
right. It was
I
like a
think
physical.
I think he had like a finger sprain, I think is what they called it.
Yeah, it was a freak accident. It was like, what are the odds that this happened?
Like Max
Um,
Fried's blister.
Max Fried's blister, his stupid skin. We need to get like a something. I don't know. Need to get like Hannibal Lecter in here to give him some new fingertips or something. I don't
Can you just put like
know.
super glue on it or something? I guess it messes with your grip, but
Probably
you got to
against the
figure
rules.
that out,
But
dude.
yeah, yeah.
Like figure it out.
He's a new skin routine.
Yeah.
Um,
Moisturizer.
yeah. But I think the good news, I mean, obviously, let's knock on wood, like Chris Sale is obviously no beacon of like durability. So you
No.
just have to like walk the tightrope with that guy. But I think other than that, like Freed has shown durability issues, but none of these guys are the flamethrowers that Strider is, right? Like that's what I feel like you're seeing a lot of people go down with is these guys who are just like pumping in 97, 98, 99 all the time. Ronaldo can hit that, but I think if you look at his average fastball velocity, he sits in like the 94, 95 range now that he's started. Like he was throwing heat as a reliever, but he's cut back on that a little bit. Hopefully that leads to durability. I don't know. You never know,
Yeah.
but
I feel
I
like
have
it's such a
confidence they'll stay
gamble
healthy.
these days. Like
Yeah.
it's like any start almost. Like a pitcher could go out there and then that could be his last start of the year. You know what I mean? With not
Yeah.
just these guys, like anybody in the league, right? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like Glasnow has had injury history. Like even some of these new Japanese guys that are coming over, like Imanaga tonight, who absolutely shoved. And Yamamoto, like any of these guys that could go out and be out for the rest of the year. Garrett Cole. Any word on Garrett Cole? Is he coming back anytime soon?
I don't
I
know.
don't
I
know.
haven't
I have no
I haven't
idea.
heard anything,
I mean, neither. I
but
assume the Yankees are going to be super careful with him. Um,
yeah,
yeah.
they've been playing good baseball too.
Yeah. Right. Like, I don't know. I call me a hater. I don't like the new playoff setup. I think way too many teams make it, but we can get into it in a little bit with like the AJ Minter decision tonight. But I was thinking about, the Sean Murphy, they're holding him out. Thought they were going to be super cautious with Riley. It sounds like he's going to miss an IL stint. I'm a little surprised by that. Um, this team could sleepwalk its way to 91 wins in a playoff appearance. Like it just isn't hard to get in. It's not hard enough to get into the playoffs anymore. And we all know that if you just get in, anything can happen.
Hmm.
Um,
Can we talk about, just speaking
yeah,
of like bizarre injuries, where is Sean Murphy? What's the word on him? I remember when he went down, it was like the first couple games of the year, they were thinking like 10 days.
The first game.
The first game, it was like, yeah, he just kind of pulled his oblique a little bit. I know that that injury can be like very unpredictable. And I don't know, it just seems like they would have told us if it was more serious than they had originally kind of diagnosed, but I haven't really heard anything. And I don't know
Well,
if people are just not asking or what, but like,
we were actually talking about this right before we press record, but Snit did a pregame press conference tonight, and he's very like nonchalant about the whole thing. He was like, "Oh yeah, he's kind of doing his thing. I don't really know. We don't really have a timetable. He's, kind of swinging the bat a little bit. Baseball's hard. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like typical Snit response. And like you said, though, those injuries are so finicky, especially with hitters. They're constantly rotating and things like that. Like I don't know. Like we have Darno over here throwing out base runners left and right,
yeah,
and
yeah,
he's our
got
backup catcher. So
another one
luckily
tonight.
we're not hurting to have him back. So like that's
Right.
just a luxury that a lot of teams don't have. Like imagine if Chadwick Tromp was our backup catcher who's starting 2 out of 3 games, and then who's after Tromp? I don't even know. Um, but yeah, I
Yeah,
think
no
I think
idea.
that's the luxury, like the embarrassment of riches we've talked about earlier is like
yeah,
we don't really have to rush him back because we don't need him. I mean, obviously we would love to have him. We would love to have Sean Murphy back in the lineup, but um, it's you just want to make sure that he's good and healthy and doesn't go out there and re-injure it again and then be out another 2 months or 3 months or however long.
exactly. They'll keep him out to the All Star break if they have to. Like the team's winning, and I
Yeah.
think I can't help but think that if the playoff setup was different, they wouldn't do that, right? Like they know that this team's got to make the playoffs, barring just like catastrophic meltdown, right? Um, the incentive to risk it with these guys is just like not there.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like it kind of dilutes the
Yeah.
product. Right? Like we're looking at an NBA style way of managing the regular season now, unfortunately. Anyhow, and rant there. Ronaldo Lopez left with back tightness today, by the way. The latest stuff that
Oh,
Oh,
The
interesting.
Twitterverse.
Okay.
So
did not hear
that
that.
sucks. So much for having durable pitchers.
Yeah.
Well,
Um,
and Riley was held out. I think they're, obviously, what do we say that MRI came back? It's inflammation. There's no structural damage or anything. So that's good. But I don't know, just to kind of counter the point of like, no need to rush people back. Also, it's kind of part of the culture to show up and want to play every day. So it's kind of
yeah,
tough to balance that. I was glad. I mean, obviously it's a little bit more serious than just giving a guy like a day of rest. There's a reason like physically that you're not able to put him in the lineup, but I don't know. In some cases, it's almost a blessing in disguise for some of these guys to just have a night or two off every once in a while. I know I was kind of calling for Olsen to take a night last week when we had the 2 days off, maybe give him, two consecutive and let him do, like a 3 game week. And I think it's probably mostly him just like, fuck that, I want to play.
Yeah.
So he hadn't missed a game. At least not that I'm aware of. I don't think he has.
He hasn't.
And he's kind of dinking and dunking a little bit, like through it. I wouldn't quite say he's all the way back by any stretch, but maybe that is valuable too to just keep working through it. Who am I to say?
Yeah. I've always wondered the same thing. Like I think there's a popular take out there when somebody's struggling a little bit, like, oh, just bench them, let them figure it out. And I don't know, they're not going I don't know. Maybe sometimes people just need a night off, let their head clear a little bit. But people are Azuna's run last year in particular made me think of it. It was like, yeah, bench him so he figures it out. Well, he's not going to figure it out. You can't just bench him
On the
and have him figure
bench,
it out.
yeah.
Right. Like he's got to get it back if you want him to quote figure it out. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I know that
Yeah,
there's
that's a really good point. Like if they didn't do it with Ozuna last year, they're never gonna do it because he was
right.
the worst player in baseball.
Yeah.
Man,
I don't know.
he
with
just keeps
how that
mashing
works.
too.
It's insane. Like we should just keep a running tally of like the last 162, what his numbers are, because I think we're past the threshold of it's been 162 games since the series in Miami last year, and he's just been dominant since then.
Yeah. I remember, I think it was earlier this week I saw something. I think he was hitting like, I think it was like 299, 50 home runs, and like 135 RBIs or something stupid.
Yeah, it's like triple crown for the past like 200 days or something.
Yeah.
Nuts. I just hope he can put it together for this whole season because I wonder how many games he would have lost if it wasn't for Ozuna so far this year.
Right?
Yeah, a lot. Well, maybe not a lot, but
more than a handful. I mean, like right off the top of my head, I can think of that game in Miami where he hit the 3-run homer off Tanner Scott with 2 outs in the ninth. He scored. I guess tonight he didn't really have one of the RBIs.
He hit the two against Boston last week, right? What was that? The first game.
Yeah,
I forget what the final was.
We just talked about it. The 3-run first or the 4-run first inning because Arcia hit a solo homer right after him. But he hit that big 3-run homer in the first. Like, I bet there's probably at least 5 games you could like if you go look at the game logs, probably 5 games that we don't win without him.
Yeah,
especially with how our big top 4 guys have been not performing.
Yeah, 20 and 18 isn't nearly as impressive as 25 and 13, right? Like
no, not at all.
5 games at this point in the year is a lot of games.
I love being at 667. I love that W number to be double the L number. That's kind of that's what I like to see.
Yeah.
2/3 of the game
500, right? Like I want that 666.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
It's crazy how this is kind of off topic, but it's crazy how almost like the standard in baseball is if you're even over 500, you're like a good baseball team.
Yeah.
It's weird that's like
awesome.
What?
Said if you bat 300, that's awesome.
Yeah, exactly. I kind of love it and hate it at the same time because I don't know, sometimes you get these teams that like, make the playoffs by a game. Like, okay, there's like one game somewhere in the season that you either won by chance or like the Cubs last year, right? They missed the playoffs by one game after if Suzuki makes that pop fly catch, they go to the playoffs, but he missed that. And then, obviously there was other games throughout the season they could have won that they didn't, but that gets magnified because it was like in the last week of the season. But baseball's a weird game like that.
Yeah,
but
like historically, like how many of these like playoff, not pennant runs, but like division runs or whatever come down to a single game or 2 games out of 162, and it's
well, think about the Braves in 21. Yeah. Like we had that I think it was the second to last series of the year against the Phillies at home. I was there for all 3 games, and I think we had to win the series to win the division. It was something like that. But I remember like the atmosphere there just being insane. Like I
Yeah.
remember, yeah, it almost felt like the World Series in that series, like just because I remember we had a big strikeout on Harper. I think he went like 0 for 4. I think he went like 0 for 11 in that series or something like that.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, that was fun. That was actually before I met you guys. Um,
Oh,
oh, yeah, because I
yeah.
met Steve that playoff run. I think it was in the Dodgers series
Maybe,
when we
yeah,
connected.
it would have been really close to then for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, something that kind of a running theme that has been going on in the group chat is the pendulum. And the pendulum has been we're seeing signs of life from the guys like Ronald and Riley and Olsen. Riley's actually been looking pretty good the past week or two. He's been getting on base, he's been getting hits, he's been getting RBIs, driving in runs. And Olsen obviously he had the homer in New York. But I think Ronald, something just seems off to me, and this might be like a boomer take to me, but the 3 pickoffs in 2 games is weird. It was like last week we were in extra innings. He was late to second base. I don't know if he like forgot that he was on base or something, but he cost Ozzy a strike. I don't remember if we ended up winning that game or not. I'm just kind of thinking like kind of off the top of my head of like things, and like there was that one play in the Met series where he like didn't run out the double play, which I think that was I don't really blame him for that because he smoked it right to McNeil when he should have caught it. Um, and so I think he started to run and then he stopped running because he thought he caught it, and then he dropped it, and then he started running again, and it was too late. Which I don't know. Should you keep running? I don't think he doesn't hustle like he made the great catch tonight in the outfield. Like I don't know. I just want to make sure that like the vibes in the clubhouse are okay, and like they just I don't know. Like I said, this might be a boomer take, and things get magnified when things aren't going well. You like look for things to go wrong, but I feel like the Ozzy Ronald bromance isn't as prevalent as it has been in years past, and like I feel like they don't look like they're having as much fun as they used to. I don't know. Might be stupid. Curious what you guys think.
Yeah, I don't know.
Uh,
I'd heard some speculation that there was maybe something wrong physically and not just mechanically, like with his swing, but that there was maybe some type of nagging injury. Um, but I do agree that I think there is a little bit of like a mental, because you don't see him like just having as much fun as you're used to solo. Forget about like the dugout and cutting it up with the guy. I mean, I think after we get dubs, he's happy running in with the center or with his outfield guys doing their
Hmm.
little celebrations and whatnot. I think he's probably maybe just a little butthurt that he's not hitting as well as he's used to. Um,
yeah.
and yeah, I mean, the other like kind of weird mental lapse was remember when they penalized Ozzy with a strike because he didn't run out to second fast enough. He was like the ghost runner in a extra innings game a few weeks ago. Just kind of a weird, like, I don't know, like distracted sort of mental approach, like where he's, again, probably nitpicking and just looking for things, but just finding, another example in that thread more than anything, rather than saying that it's totally the issue. I've noticed a couple of just kind of things seemingly off as well.
Yeah. I think he's probably a bit frustrated. I'm not sure if I would describe him as butthurt, but yeah, like but who am I to say? Maybe he's butthurt. But yeah, I mean, I'm just like scanning over his stats right now. He's just not himself at the plate right now, and there's just no two ways about it. Um, I remain confident he'll get there, and I'm looking at it as actually a rolling um, graph of his WRC plus. He was kind of there. He had like a 15 game stretch where he had WRC plus above 150. Like that's run, right? Like that's what you look for. But over the last 15 games, I mean, it's as bad as he's been all year. So I think he's just probably frustrated. Um, as far as the base running stuff is concerned, I think we're missing EY a little bit. I don't think it excuses getting picked off at first 3 times in a 6 inning stretch, but I think Ozzy getting picked off there is telling as well. I think I don't know who's at first, and I don't really care. He's not EY.
That's right. Yeah, Ozzy got picked off tonight.
I don't know. He does seem frustrated. I think with him, it's like 100%. You just leave him in the leadoff spot. You leave him there. Like he'll snap out of it. And when he does, all hell will raineth upon.
Well,
Uh,
and
yeah,
that last hit, that RBI for the second run tonight, I think was like 105, just screamer through the gap and short.
yeah,
He's still hitting balls hard.
that was
yeah,
Ronnie through and through.
I want to
yeah.
see him get the ball in the air a little bit though. He's hitting a ton of grounders.
He is
Yeah,
for sure.
and the ones he does hit in the air is getting underneath. It's like he can't find that sweet spot where he's just bringing the bat like straight through the zone. It's either on top of it or underneath it.
Like one of my favorite things that Ronnie does is hit those screaming line drives right over the shortstop's head in the gap. Like that's a pure Ronnie hit. You know what I mean? And we
Yeah,
just haven't seen that very much this year.
yeah,
Yeah, those slappers.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at some Statcast numbers on him. So his exit velocity is down from last year, and it's almost identical to what it was in 2022. So coming off the knee injury, but I think the bigger not concern is that it would indicate what you're saying about the the launch angle, right? Like his barrel rate is only 8%, by far the lowest of his career. So he's hitting the ball hard. He's not hitting it at the trajectory you'd like to see. Um, I think he's probably working on some things. He'll be fine. The guy's freakishly talented, and
Hmm.
I'm sure Sites is working with him and trying to get those things ironed out. But yeah, whoever
Whoa.
said something about quit hitting it on the ground, you were onto something there. The launch angle isn't there. The exit velocity, though, by and large is.
Yeah, I remember hearing something on the broadcast the other night too, where they were saying that he's kind of like in between, where he's like late on the heater but early on the off speed stuff. But I feel like he's also in between on the launch angle because if it's low in the zone, he's slamming it into the ground. If it's high in the zone, he's popping up under it, most of
Yeah,
the time.
Yeah.
And like
yeah,
I'm not a professional hitter. I'm not a freak athlete like Ronald Acuna Jr. So like I don't know what the fix is, but like we gotta figure it out. You know what I mean? Like
It was Chipper who was saying that about how he's behind the fastball and
was
too
it?
quick on the breaking ball. I think what he was saying is that he's taking too long to like load up, whereas in the past he's just like dropping in straight through, and now he's kind of like got a little load up to it. I mean, again, like you, I'm
Yeah.
not a hitting coach or whatever, but just to kind of call back what you were saying about, um, I think it was just in the chat. I don't know if we brought it up earlier on this episode, but Chipper's just genius hitting mind, kind of breaking down the three guys who are slumping. And then I thought it was impressive what he was saying about Ozuna too, how he really has taken to his advice where you got to swing north. And I think they actually referenced that Chipper interview on one of the broadcasts this past week where they were saying like the best way to describe it is that it almost looks like a fenced gate, like swinging open. It's coming all at the same time, just like straight through. So it's like taking all of the air out of the zone. Going back to episodes past where we talk about that drag coefficient, it's like he barrels it so hard that there's no like resistance because it's just coming completely straight through the zone. And you see it in the follow through. I mean, it's just a whole like 360 degrees, it seems like, with the bat. And so he's got, yeah, just, I mean, a lot of power.
yeah.
Yeah, Chipper was also saying something about how he's been wanting to work with Kelnick, and this was like last week. I'm like, dude, we're like what, 8 weeks and
You
7, 8 weeks into the
like
season.
get in there.
Yeah, you're here right now. Go down there and talk to him in the dugout. Like they'll let you in the
He's right
dugout.
there.
He's right there.
Yeah.
Um, but I do find that kind of surprising though. That is he still their like hitting correspondent person or consultant or whatever?
It seems like he's been chilling a little bit more this year. Like
I think
I
so
don't know.
too. We need
Yeah,
him
he's
though.
like going to Kid Rock concerts and shit. Like I don't know.
Is that
I
real?
mean, I
Is he
heard,
like actually going to Kid
yeah,
Rock concerts?
yeah, he was
Probably
like
would.
hyped about. He was on Cellini and Domino, I think, talking about going like out to Tennessee for this big rock show. They're like, "Who are you seeing?" He's like, "Yeah, Kid Rock." Like, fuck. I was like, okay, just a super redneck lineup. Fucking love it.
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
probably taking the four wheelers out there and drinking Coors Lights.
Sounds like Chipper.
He's done plenty, like I feel like he's always been on a like I'll show up when I feel like it. And maybe
Yeah.
he recognizes how silly the playoff format is. Like I'll show up and I'm looking forward to working with them in September when this shit actually matters. Um,
That's true.
so I'm kidding, but yeah, I think he
And maybe
has
if they were floating around 500, maybe he'd be in there a little bit more, or
right.
maybe like under
Yeah,
500 or something like that. But he's
yeah,
like, yeah, they're fine. They're winning 67% of their games. They're fine.
yeah. He's like the wolf in Pulp Fiction, right? They don't bring me in for these small jobs, right? Like I'm only here
Yeah,
to solve the crisis.
right.
It's still just mind-boggling to me though that like just watching these games, like I don't think a lot of fans watch like every game. Like there's a small collective of people like on Twitter and stuff, and us, of course, who watch like every game and see like all the highs and lows. But like if you look at it as a whole, like they're not playing good. I mean, they're playing good baseball because they're winning, but like they're not playing like who they are and who they're capable of. Yet they're still, what was it? 25 and 13, 12 games over 500 and in second place, which I'm not worried about that. The Phillies are the Phillies, and schedule strength comes into play. That's a whole different topic. But um I yeah, like you said, we're gonna walk into the playoffs. Like we could win 91 games and be in the
Yeah,
playoffs, no problem.
yeah. They're playing like shit, and they're on pace to win over 106 games.
Yeah.
Like they haven't had
Like
a
Yeah.
catcher all season. Like
we
it's
lost
nuts.
Strider.
Lost Strider from the get go, and I almost don't count it because you're not getting them back. But yeah, lost your ace, lost your all star catcher like within 2 weeks of this. Lost your all star catcher from the get go. Um, you know your your all star first baseman, your all star third baseman, your MVP right fielder, all playing well below their expectations. Um,
I
on
feel
pace
like
to win one.
Harris's numbers are gonna increase in order to get back to his capabilities as well.
Harris
Tonight was a
has the
little
worst.
weird.
Sorry, go ahead.
Well, we'll probably get into it more in the next episode, but what was interesting to me too, just talking about how like you just never really know where it's coming from, and somehow we're like eking all this stuff out. Tonight was the first time where I thought this lineup looks so different with Riley out. This dude, gosh, what's his name again? I forget who played third tonight.
Zach Short,
Zach Short at third, and then you
I
had
think.
Duvey and left, and then like that pitcher that came in, Kerr. That was the first time we'd seen him. He looks good. And we can get
Yeah,
into him a little bit more next week. I think we'll see if he gets
Yeah, he
a
looked
few
good.
more appearances. But yeah, it was kind of like that was the first time, we really went off the sort of normal looking lineup. I mean, I know Doobie gets his spot starts and whatnot, but um, it just totally different looking, especially from like last season when you see Reynaldo on the mound. And I don't know, we're just, yeah, somehow peeling them off, keep winning games.
Yeah, I don't know how they keep doing it. I mean, obviously it's the pitching. The pitching has really stepped up these past few weeks because, like, the last year this offense averaged like 6 runs a game, and the past 2, 3 weeks we've been averaging like 2 or 3 runs a game. We haven't really had. I've been saying this for
Yeah.
weeks. Like, we're due for one of those like offensive explosion games where we put up like 15 runs, everybody breaks out of their funk, because like I feel like if this team is firing on all cylinders and the pitching keeps pitching the way they are, like could win 130 games. Like probably it's too late in the season at this point, but like if they started from game 1 to game 162 or firing on all cylinders, they could win 130 games. You know what I mean? But that could be a Braves homer take. I don't know, but um, I don't know, man. It's just been a weird year, but they're doing well still.
yeah,
Yeah.
And also, like, we also have to put this in a context too that last year was career years for like half of the lineup.
Oh,
So
yeah.
it might not
All time. I
be,
mean, all time Braves regular seasons for
yeah.
individual guys, for the whole team. Yeah. I mean,
And
just
maybe it might be a
historical.
little bit lofty to expect them to exceed that, but like I still feel like even last year there were times where they weren't clicking on all cylinders and they could still be better, but maybe we shouldn't have our expectations set so high. I don't know. Maybe they're just saving all the offensive juice for the playoffs this time because we lost it all the past 2 years.
I
I'm
mean,
cool with that.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if they've taken a slightly different approach to preparing for the season and to like the way they think about the regular season. Like it hasn't worked for 2 consecutive years, and I think there's some of that, which is just like that's baseball. But um, I would hope. I don't know. Like I don't know. Any logical person would look at this season and say, "Look, you're gonna get into the playoffs. You're gonna sleepwalk your way to 90 wins. You'll be in the playoffs, and really nothing you do until NLDS game one or whatever. You're in a wild card series. Nothing you do before that's gonna matter. Nobody's gonna care.
You know
So
what? Like, yeah, to that point, it might even be that individually, a lot of guys set the bar so high that it's almost like we don't even want to try to attain that because that's going to be exhausting. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like,
exactly,
yeah,
exactly.
like I Olsen hitting 55 homers instead of 54, Ronnie stealing 80 bases instead of 71, or like, I don't know,
But at the
73,
same
right?
time, they're not
41
going
games.
out there and be like, I don't really care about hitting a homer. I'm just going to strike out instead.
No, for sure.
Yeah,
But
I
You know,
agree.
like,
I think if you're already not on that type of a pace, then you're not as like juiced about trying to get to it, right? I mean, so you're maybe still giving 100%, but you're not like actively, for instance, swinging for the fences or definitely stealing in a situation where you might not necessarily need to, you know? I don't know. I mean, it's almost a good thing I would imagine, because I feel like it takes a little bit of the pressure off. Like, and that was kind of my point last week about maybe sitting Olsen for a game, because once the albatross of like playing all 162 is nothing to worry about anymore, like you're already not going to play all 162, then maybe you kind of cool out a little bit. I think I agree that it doesn't really help to miss a game as far as like getting your groove back, but if it's a mental block to like to be stubborn about, wanting to start all 162, and then you don't have to worry about that anymore, like maybe that's the only reason why you would even do that. I don't know. um
Yeah. Well, it's
just a
an
thought.
interesting topic. I think is like because people have, with the early exits the last 2 years, you've seen a lot of, at the time at least, speculation about like, oh, they need to be taking more off days. You got way too many people in this lineup playing 160 plus games, but with this gigantic, particularly last year with like a gigantic lead in the division, we should give them more rest. And I don't know if there's any validity. Like, is taking 5 days off between like May and September, is that going to make you play better in October? I
yeah.
don't know. It's tough I can't say one way or another. Um, anyhow,
Yeah, but like you said, Ty, though, like maybe they are just taking a completely different approach this year. But like that makes sense. But at the same time, kind of going back to what I said earlier, is like I don't think they're just trying to not hit homers. Like Ronald, I know Ronald did like a preseason interview where he said he wanted to try to hit 50 homers this year. And so maybe
Yeah,
he's just, like you said, Steve, maybe a little butthurt that he's not really on pace for that yet. But he could go on a tear the next 3 weeks and hit 7 bombs. You know what I mean? Over the next 3 months, hit like, 25, 30. You know what I mean? He hit
yeah,
10 in September last year, after that Dodgers series.
yeah.
So
I
I don't know.
I I wouldn't suggest they're not trying, but I think there might be a little bit more patient and just kind of like they're good at baseball. They know they're good at baseball. Just be patient, let it come to you. There's no sense in like exerting just some exorbitant amount of effort to make sure you grind out another 5 to 10 points in your batting average at the end of the year. Like how many regular season wins is that going to be worth? And we all know it's going to be worth zero playoff wins, right?
Sure,
I
but
just think
how
they
how
might have
much
a different
more
mindset.
effort is it to try to get a few more hits to get your batting average a little higher? You know what I mean?
Um,
Like you're there standing at the plate anyway. You might as well try to get a hit.
I'm not
Like,
suggesting the approach in the batter's box is any different. I'm talking about the
yeah,
like everything else. Like I doubt there's any extra time being spent in a batting cage, right? And nor should there be.
that's a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, because like I wonder if Ronald or Riley are sitting there in the cage for hours after games. You know what I mean? Like I
No,
doubt it,
no.
because they're probably like, yeah, we're gonna be fine. But like
I
I
hope
don't know,
that's
kind of
their
going back.
attitude. Like, don't create
What?
pressure on yourself that isn't there, right? Like, there will be time for pressure, and I want you to be not born when that time comes.
That's true. And I feel like that's when the Braves do the best is when there isn't pressure and like the vibes in the clubhouse are good and everybody's like joking around, shooting the shit, and they're like listening to music pregame and stuff. You used to hear about all that the past couple of years and just
Yeah.
haven't really heard about that this year. And like, I don't know, like I don't remember if I mentioned it like while have been recording or if it was before we started recording, but like just I don't know. I just don't see as much of like the silly clubhouse antics and stuff in the dugout, which like doesn't actually matter on the field. You know what I mean? But I wonder if I don't know. Maybe I'm just rambling.
Yeah. No, you know what? This kind of past few minutes of this discussion has made me remember too is like, we still haven't really seen the weather warm up. I mean, going up to New York, like
It's
even
like
in
60
Atlanta, it
degrees in
was like
Atlanta right now.
drizzling a little bit tonight. You know, you could tell the mound was like wet after the game. I just saw the crew out there scraping it up. Like, couldn't really tell on the broadcast, but I think when we start, yeah, when it starts warming up and it's the boys of summertime and it's a little bit nicer out, like that'll be more fun to play in. Maybe you'll get some more positive vibes and just be able to kind of switch up the groove a little bit.
Yeah.
Not to mention the ball's going to carry. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah,
And kind of what I'm thinking too is like last year when they were firing on all cylinders and just hitting fucking 5 bombs a game, it seems like it felt like they weren't trying. You know what I mean? Like they were just being
Yeah.
themselves and weren't putting the pressure on themselves. So just do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's easy as
Just
that,
yeah,
right?
just hit more homers. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's always speculation on my part, right? But I think, this, I don't know, maybe it's me kind of infusing my own mindset into what I've been projecting that onto what I'm seeing with the Braves, but there does seem to be a minor kind of lack of consistency, and I'm perfectly okay with it. I think the way
Yeah.
you're seeing them handle uh Lopez, and tonight left with a strain, but like they're giving him a ton of rest, not overworking him, taking their sweet time, bringing Murphy back. Um, I don't know. I'm okay with that. This is all like just get to 90 wins. Which, by the way, I did some quick math. If they play 500 the rest of the way, they'll have 87. Like I think we're good.
yeah.
Yeah,
This
they're
is
gonna make the
definitely,
playoffs. I'm not worried about that.
Yeah,
yeah, it's rich people problems for sure. I
yeah, for
mean,
sure.
Yeah,
I feel like if
100%.
we were, following any other team, we probably wouldn't even be doing this podcast because we'd just be wallowing. Maybe not wallowing, it depends on the team, but like, we're comparing them to like historical numbers and fun that was had, and it's just kind of like almost petulant at this point. But we're
Yeah, for
fans.
sure. We talked about how good the pitching's been, and I think it's been extraordinarily right. Like
Hmm.
it's and
Yeah,
that
for sure.
and if we're being honest, like it's not going to stay that. So we'll see it swing back a little bit, I'm sure, but um, I don't know. This team will be fine. I'm not too worried about it. Um, and I guess Kevin, I haven't noticed any like what I would consider to be discernible, I'll say like issues or like discernibly like, lack of fun coming out of the team. But I think there's just been fewer moments where it's so obviously like fun, right? Like it seemed, I think part of the reason, last year it just seemed like they were partying all the time because they were just homering all the time, right? It's just like it seemed like every single night before the game even got going, they were before nothing. So
Yeah, putting up like 20s.
yeah, there was
We
a lot of reason to party.
20 plus at least twice
Yeah.
last year.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah, no, that's a good point for sure. I'm actually looking up a stat real quick because it's something that I have been hearing a lot of people say, but I want to look it up first before I mention what it is. Do you want to talk about Minter real quick? You want to run through some of the stats you pulled?
Yeah. So like Minter, obviously, so we didn't, so he, I guess just to backtrack a little bit, he blew the game on Sunday night. Kevin was like 1 out, or no, I guess he didn't get to 2 outs, but one inning away from having a correct like 5-0 prediction last week. And it was almost like a carbon copy of the game in Seattle. So, last night goes into the ninth inning with I don't think it was a 1-run lead. I don't recall the exact score. Gives up a bunt single. Was it McNeil? Was it really McNeil?
McNeil with a bunt
And
single,
then
and
Nimmo,
Nito tried to bunt and got out, but he moved the runner.
and then so it was McNeil and Nimmo were
Yeah.
the break.
Hmm.
Fuck those
Yep.
people. My God, I hate them. Um, yeah. Anyhow, yeah. So McNeil with the bunt single, and then got over with the Nito bunt, sacrifice bunt, and then Nimmo hits a home run. Um, it was almost identical to the Monday night game in Seattle where he just I forget who it was hitting off, but it was mega launch. Neither one were both were no doubts, but the guy's just not playing. So ran some numbers on his entire career. So in the eighth inning or sooner, he's got 281 career appearances with a career ERA of 2.86. And I'm sure that's trending down year over year. Right? This includes some of the early years where he wasn't quite as effective as he has been. But about a 1.1 whip, um, more than 11 Ks per 9 innings, and about half a home run per 9 innings. You look at ninth inning or later, though, so he's sitting at right at 99 appearances. The ERA balloons to close to 4.9.
Oh wow.
His whip is up about 30% to 1.3. Ks per nine actually sits pretty high still at 10.37. And then I think the big kicker and the kind of the explanation of those issues, his home runs he gives up more than one home run per nine. So his home runs per nine almost double between these eighth inning or earlier in game and ninth inning or later. So who I have no idea why that's the case, uh, but the guy can't pitch in the ninth inning. I think we
Pressure,
figured that
man.
out. What's that?
Just the pressure, man. It's gotta
It's
be.
gotta be. It's gotta be right. Like, and it's anyhow. I was interested to see. I mean, Snitker went to him tonight with
So
Iggy like fresh, right? Like I was shocked. Um, hopefully Iggy's healthy. I think it was just a Snitker move to be like, look,
I think it was
I
a
got
total
faith in my
snicker
guys.
move.
Yeah,
Hmm.
And I think it, like someone mentioned, maybe it was you, Kevin, is because it was the top of the ninth, probably more so than putting him in
maybe.
like a true bottom of the ninth situation where
Like a
he could
potential
get
walk-off
walked off.
situation.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can't get walked off in the top. Yeah,
Yeah,
fair.
pretty much. And I mean, also, like, granted, he could give up two or potentially even three, but maybe, if he gives up one, you just pull him. Like, all right, fuck it, that didn't work.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, but yeah,
I
Started
kind of
dude.
out
love
So
pretty
it.
rough though.
a little bit of a get him
It's,
back on the horse type of thing, I think. I mean,
give him a chance to kill them demons, right? Like
yeah,
I
and
think
you
I think it's another
probably,
example of this regular season doesn't
yeah,
like we could have lost the game today. Who gives a fuck, right? Like it doesn't
total
matter.
total snip
Um,
snip move for
snip
sure.
move, like give your guy a chance to prove to get after those demons. Um, I would hope it would be managed a bit differently in the playoffs. Like I don't want to see him on the mound and save. I don't care what he did tonight. I'm glad to see him to succeed, and I think that's ultimately what the goal was. But I don't want to see that guy in a save situation in a game that period.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
yeah, no, I agree.
he kind of falls off the cliff entirely, whereas. Like, and it'll be, down to the last strike and oops, fucking walk off home run. Whereas Iffy Iggy goes the other way where it's like, oh my God, don't do this again, don't do this again. And then he gets the close out, the save, the last strike call. And I actually thinking if we want to just move into this Iffy Iggy topic a little bit, I've been the one probably more so on the chat who's kind of like doubted him the most. And he's actually like proven me wrong more so than kind of proven me right, I think. And maybe it's just that he's pitching well enough to actually get the saves and close them out to my like fan eye. Like the numbers probably say that he's doing the same or better, or maybe he is slipping a little bit from what we're used to him doing. But to me, like with the eye test, I feel like I actually kind of like he's gaining my trust somehow.
See, what's funny is I feel the opposite because I've been anti Iggy makes me nervous. Like pitchers are going to give up hits, they're going to give up runs sometimes. No pitchers are perfect. There's no elite pitcher out there with a 0.00 ERA. You know what I mean? Like I feel like the days of the elite shutdown closer are kind of done. Aside from a few guys, you know, like Diaz might be one of them. By the way, that pitch up and
Didn't
into
he blow it
Ronald last
today?
night.
Dude,
What?
he almost killed Ronald.
He almost killed Ronald. Yeah, I don't know if he necessarily was trying to hit him or anything, but that was very close, like too close for comfort.
He was
But
throwing
anyway, like
inside at everybody too, even the left. So I forget who came up lefty. I guess it was maybe Olson or maybe Ozzy was batting lefty. He threw it at him too on the other side of the plate.
yeah. But anyway, kind of to your point though about the stats. So in the past week, I have felt a little bit nervous when Iggy comes in, and but in his last five outings, he's gone 5 innings, 5 hits, 3 runs, 2 earned, only 2 Ks in 5 innings, which I think that's something that has been noticeable as his K rate is down. He gave up the 1 home run to JD Martinez in the no-hitter game to spoil the no-hitter. And then but he's still 4 out of 5 in save opportunities, which obviously 80% isn't is good, is very good, but it's not like where you want it to be overall for the entire season. And granted, this is small sample size over the past 5 outings, but that's when I started to feel a little bit more nervous when he comes in. But when I looked at the numbers, he's actually still doing pretty good. Granted, there's a little, a lot more traffic on the bases than you would like. Um, but he's only given up 2 earned runs in those 5 innings, to where everybody's like, "Oh my God, Iggy sucks." Um, but and that one blown save was the Otani game tying single in that extra innings game in LA, and that was actually a really good pitch. It was a changeup low and away
Yeah.
to Otani. Otani reached out and just blooped it into the outfield. Like, kudos to him. He hit a good pitch. Um, but yeah, man, I'm not necessarily worried about Iggy, but it's not like okay, we're up by a run, Iggy's in, game's over. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, we got to like make sure we get these 3 outs.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I still agree with that, but like, I don't know. I was also kind of under the impression that maybe you do put a Minter or a Matzik out there a couple times, and I'm completely off that now. Now like Iggy's definitely my top choice, and it hadn't always been that way. Um, and I think those guys are great, like eighth inning setup guys, or could be anyway. But I do think, in regardless of that, he likes to shave a couple of months off the end of your life. He is a little bit more trustworthy as far as actually, finishing the game. I do wish we would see him a little bit more. I know it's just the regular season. I don't know that, well, and maybe just the situational, like he didn't need to go into that game and give up that bomb in the no hitter. Wasn't even a
Yeah.
same
We were up
situation,
by
right?
4, weren't we?
We would have
Yeah.
had him. Yeah, we would have had him for the next game too. I don't know.
I
Um,
agree with that.
So I think the story there though is that we weren't up by four. He got hot when we were only up two, right? Did we score? We scored in the eighth.
I think Dylan Lee was warming up.
It was
So
Dylan Lee and
Chavez,
Chavez in the bullpen in the 8th because I think they were threatening. I think the Mets had a couple runners on or something. Let me pull up the box score. I'm curious.
okay. What I read was that he was already hot basically, and they were just going to bring him in.
Yeah, I think so. At the end of the 8th inning, we were up 3-0. We scored one in the top of the ninth
Yeah.
to go up 4-0, and then they scored the one in the bottom of the ninth.
So he was warming up in the top, would be my guess. To come
Yeah, he
in
was
the save
warming up in
opportunity.
the 8th when we were up 3-0 when it was a save opportunity. And so he was
Yeah.
already warming up, I guess.
Anyhow, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to remember. I'm going to look through like the summary of the play-by-play. Yeah, so Bader walked, Beatty popped out, Stewart walked, strikeout, strikeout. So we had 2 runners on with 1 out in the top of the 8th or the bottom of the 8th. So I think that's when Lee and Chavez were warming. And then I think when we got out of that, they brought up Iglesias. It seemed like. Because I think that was the game I got into an argument with somebody on Twitter. They were like, if Dylan, why is Dylan Lee even picking up a baseball right now? And I said, because he's been one of our best relievers all year. Like, what do you mean?
Yeah, he's been nuts. Been very, very good.
Yeah. um,
I don't
but
know. If we really want to be an embarrassment or have an embarrassment of riches, I think Iglesias is one of these guys. He's a better than average closer. I think we're kidding ourselves if we say that he's like an elite closer. The problem is that elite closers are very expensive, and the difference between a very good and an elite closer is like not that big of it. It's not that big, right?
yeah, like look at Josh Hader too. He just got like $100 million deal, and has he been good? I mean, the Braves lit him up. Other than that, though, I'm curious how
I
he's
don't
done.
know.
Yeah, I don't
I don't
know.
know.
But
I
I
think
do
we've
have a
talked offline. I was just gonna say I'm pretty sure that blowout closer like that Aroldis Chapman, if you want to talk fucking historical, you go to like Rivera, is by far like the most rare talent in maybe all of sports. Like those guys are fewer and further between than like your top tier elite quarterbacks in the NFL. They just aren't around.
Josh Hader has a 5.29 ERA. Granted, reliever, small sample size, 4 runs to the Braves. Everything else is zeros pretty much. He gave up 1 run to the Nationals, 1 run to the Mariners. He's got 5 saves. I don't know which innings these are all in, so it's hard to say. Like right off the top of my back, these are just like the Google stats. But either way, you don't feel all rainbows and sunshine inside when your closer comes in. He's got a 5.29 ERA.
No way.
No.
No
Yeah.
way.
But conversational question: do you feel more comfortable now with Iggy or 2021 with regular season Will Smith?
Gosh,
Iggy,
it's
for
kind of
sure.
Will was also just I mean, it was like green lights, just loading
He
up
would
the
like walk the
bases.
bases loaded and then strike out the side.
Yeah, yeah,
Like,
yeah. Iggy's not quite that. It is a little reminiscent though, for some reason. Sometimes it's just kind of like, all right, dude.
Yeah.
Then he gets those first 2, and you're like, okay, fuck yeah. And then he puts like 2 on, and you're like, oh shit, like tying runs coming to the plate.
yeah.
Yeah, I
And
don't
I feel
know.
like he's a product of a lot of bad luck too. I don't have any stats here, but I remember several instances where, like, what happened to Mentor tonight. Like, I think it was Bellinger who came out first and got like this weak little swinging bunt type hit. Like, okay, that's a hit. Okay, I think the Guardians did that to us a bunch.
Oh yeah,
I
Oh
don't know
yeah.
if
It
that
was
God,
was
it was
to
awful.
Iglesias
That Sunday
specifically.
game, the Sunday game against the Guardians, it was against Elder. They didn't get the
Yeah,
ball to the infield until the 7th inning.
I think
They had
scored
like
like
a
2 runs in an inning where they
yeah,
didn't get the ball out of the infield.
yeah. Well, Elder couldn't throw a strike to save his life. Trump couldn't block a pitch to save his life, and then you throw on some walks and some infield hits, and you got a recipe for like a 3-run inning with no
Yeah.
with the ball not leaving the field.
Elder's not gonna he's not gonna be the first one to that slow dribbler either, man. He doesn't really defend that mound very well, like a Max Fried or someone with a
Yeah,
little more agility and
yeah.
athleticism.
This is true.
No.
This is true. But all
I
right.
think the
Well,
more interesting question is: do you prefer Iglesias to Jansen? I
Ooh,
think
that
you
is an
clearly
interesting
prefer
question.
Iglesias to Will Smith, but like Kenley was the one in between.
he's kind of in between. Yeah, I think of the 3, I definitely prefer Iglesias.
Yeah, me too.
I think I'd have to agree. Yeah.
Yeah, Kenley
I
in the
would.
middle. But like
Yeah.
Will Smith will always be a Braves legend though. Like, how the fuck did he not give up a single run in the entire postseason run in 21?
Just
Like,
got
how?
just juiced. Just got like I mean the whole bullpen went bananas that run.
Those 4 guys, they pitched almost every single game.
A night
And I have,
shift.
yeah, and Matzik sacrificed his arm and shoulder and elbow for that World
Build the
Series, and
statue,
I will be
baby.
forever
Just build the
grateful.
statue.
Yeah.
You have my
Yeah.
arm. I don't.
Yeah. Yeah, right.
Probably won't throw a ball very good, unfortunately.
But
Charlie Morton broke his leg and finished the game
Yeah, that's
or
finished the
finished
inning.
that inning.
He came
Yeah.
out like the 2nd inning, but yeah, that's wild.
yeah.
Had
But
some just
but anyway,
sacrifices going on.
Yeah, we've been rambling for a while here. So but yeah, hopefully Riley comes back healthy. Looks like it's just inflammation and probably take a couple days off. Hopefully he'll be back. But we've got a pretty big week. A couple good teams we're playing. Obviously, we just played game one against the Cubs where we took a W. We've got two more. I haven't looked at the pitching matchups yet. Um, but Thursday is an off day, and then we have a weird 4-game series against the Padres. It's Friday to Monday, which is super weird. Um, and the Padres have been kind of hot lately. I think I heard today they've won like 7 of their last 10. Um, so they're coming in pretty hot. So we'll probably do this next podcast on Monday night after that series. So that'll be a full 7 games, including if we end up talking about the one that happened tonight already. But do you guys have predictions for the upcoming week?
I haven't really seen the Padres. The Cubs, just from what I saw tonight, don't really scare me at all. I wouldn't be surprised if we take all 3 off of them. And I'll maybe just throw out a 2-2 against the Padres. So I'll go 5-2.
Yeah, I'm gonna go 6-1. I think this team's gonna like heat up. I'll keep throwing my money on the Braves run machine. We'll get going one of these days. Um, I'm curious to know with even with the
We have to
Cubs
face Dylan
series,
Cease.
is he good? Is he actually
Yes.
good?
Yes. Yeah, he's been very good this year. I wish he was on my fantasy team.
But he wasn't good last year, right? He
He
was
was not
very
great
like
last year, but
okay,
this year he's been good.
yeah. I don't care. I don't have any respect for the Padres. Zero.
He's got 49 innings, 12 runs, 60 strikeouts with a 2.19 ERA. Pretty surface level stats, a lot of factors go into that, but just to give you an idea.
Yeah. Are we
Chance
gonna
we're
play
playing them.
Steele
What?
with the Cubs? Are we gonna play Steele? Is he gonna pitch for the Cubs?
I think no, he pitched against Skeens on Saturday or Sunday. So I don't think we're gonna face Steele.
Cool. Yeah, 6-1, baby. Chalk it up, baby.
I'm gonna go with Steve. I'm gonna go 5-2. I got a little cocky this week with the 5-0, and then we blew it. It's all my fault. I'm gonna go 5-2. We already got the 1-0 in the bag, so I'm gonna go 5-2, and we'll see what happens next week.
All right. Hopefully, our A-list insider will be making little popsicle stick flags with L's on them for this Cubs series. That's supposed to
That
be
would
his
be
next.
hilarious if he does
Stay
that.
tuned. Stay tuned for that.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, we'll be posting that funny Chris Sale video probably tomorrow. Probably we'll go live tomorrow. That should hopefully perform well. I thought it was pretty funny. But
Very good.
but cool. Well, if you made it this far, thanks for watching. If you listen to us ramble for this long, just a couple dudes shooting the shit, talking about baseball, and hope you guys enjoyed it. Be sure to like and subscribe, all that fun stuff, and we'll see you in the next one.
All right. Later.
Peace.
Adios.